Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs, and today we'll be taking a look at my Custom Mezco prototype-inspired Carnage figure. This guy turned out to be like 1,000 times more work than I intended him to, and most of that is just in the engineering of the figure. Some of it is self-inflicted, stuff I chose to add, features I wanted to include on this guy to make him unique. But overall, I am very, very happy with how he turned out, and I'm super excited to share him with you. I know there's been a lot of people who have been wanting to see this guy for a while, and so let's just dive right in. As always, we're going to take a look at the accessories first. So I'm going to pull Carnage up. I'm going to pop off his alternate head. I'm going to drop that. It doesn't like standing because of the shape of the chin. But I'm going to put the body to the side. And let's talk about the accessories. So first of all these accessories are from the Amazing Yamaguchi Carnage. And so are the arms on this guy and also some internal engineering. And so I did not like how the Amazing Yamaguchi Carnage is this just bright... It's this bright cherry red, really. And I mean, like, for a comic Carnage, it's cool, but in all reality, I mean, like, there's just a ton of detail that is in the sculpt that you don't see in the paint because it's just all done in this red color. And so you can see there's a lot of muscle and tendon and even some vein work in there that just isn't picked out. And so I was looking at this and I was like, one, it would be cheap if I just transplanted parts. That wouldn't be very fair to anyone who's buying this guy. And two, it just quite frankly doesn't look very good. It looks very cartoony. And, obviously Amazing Yamaguchi's style is cartoony, but for how I'm trying to transform it, it doesn't work as well. So, I repainted everything. And so, my steps were, I painted everything a glossy black, and then after that, I dry brushed some Angelus leather red to just get like my base layer, and then I dry brushed some matte red, which happens to be a lighter tone of red. And with that lighter tone of red, that created like my lowlights and highlights. So as you can see, like in the deep grooves, there's a deeper red, but then these veins hit a higher red color. And then I actually dry brushed the higher red with Angelus again, because Angelus has this nice semi-gloss varnish to it. So I did all that. Once I painted all of that, I then went through, covered everything in a gloss coat, and then sealed it with a Krylon crystal clear spray. So all these parts are sealed, so you really shouldn't have to worry about the gloss coat going away. I also dry brushed all the blades. So not some of the tendrils. The tendril spikes I left alone because they're a little bit thicker. But anything that's more of a sharp edge blade, I dry brushed with silver on the edges. And because, this guy was inspired by Prototype, I really loved that Prototype could shapeshift, at both Alex Mercer and, oh man, the other guy's name is passing me up right now. But, their bodies would morph, their suits would change, they could disguise themselves, they could go plain clothes, and all that kind of stuff. But then when they used their weapons, you could actually see a defined hard edge, that natural, organic, well, in their case, infection, but, in our case, symbiote. I thought it was super cool that it would be able to actually harden into an edge. And, that would make sense for someone like Carnage, who makes a lot of weapons out of his own body, out of the symbiote. And so playing off of that, I wanted to showcase that metallic edge along the blades. And so that's something I chose to do. So I really dig. But yeah, it was an incredibly long process to repaint everything. I mean, even, I'll bring the figure in for a sec, even looking at these arms, it took so long because it's a layer of black so that you get those deep grooves, you get the deep black inside the arms. And then it's, different shades of red so that you're getting, the light and dark fades throughout the figure. As you can see, there's like some deeper red, and then you get some more highlights of red on the upper sections. And so layers of, layers and depth of color there. And then on top of that, I had to double back and then hand paint, the bigger black veins, paint those all black. And then what I also did was, see if you can see it in here, the camera will focus. The glare of the light is making it a little tough, but there is red sponging over the black. And the reason why I did red sponging over the black, oh, you can see it a little bit. There you go. Yeah, the reason why I did red sponging over the black is because I was really inspired by the Let There Be Carnage, well, Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. And how Carnage, he doesn't have like straight all black veins. There's this, stippling of red throughout it. And I really liked that because it would seem unnatural, I guess, at least in my mind, if it was like two parts, but all of this is one and the same symbiote. And so you want to see a little bit of that fade. You want to see the red breaking through there. And so that's what I did for this guy. But coming back to the accessories, I have everything. Everything has been repainted. So I repainted, his longer tendrils right here. And the tendrils took a long time because they're so thin. But if we can zoom in and if the camera will focus, there we go. You can see that really, really nice red with sort of like the pockets of black in there. There we go. Yeah, you can see the pockets of black. And so there's definitely a lot of layers to this. And I like how organic and veiny it feels. And obviously that is a lot of credit to Amazing Yamaguchi. But I think the paint job really, really helps those layers stand out of the deep black against those different shades of red. And so we have the long tendrils. We have the shorter tendrils right here. See if I can get a better angle on that. Let me, there we go. That looks good. As you can see, so we have those medium tendrils, and then we also have these little tiny baby tendrils right here. These look mostly black, but yeah, the red isn't coming through because of the gloss. Because of the way the gloss kind of bends everything, it's hard to, oh, there we go. Now you can kind of see it. Certain angles, you can see the red come through. But yeah, so we got all those. We also have his spikes here. I really love the shape of these. They're very, very angular. They have some really nice edges to them. And so, once again, talking about hardened points, I did dry brush the tip of it with some chrome silver just to make that edge stand out. And so it's cool because it fades from a silver into a red. And so you get, that nice transition of the symbiote actually hardening into a point, which I think is super sick. He's got a bunch of other blades, once again with that dry brushed silver, and I love the veins. Those nice red veins running through the whole piece. This guy was very tedious to paint because of all the dry brushing. It's not like, I think some people think dry brushing is kind of like reckless and you just swipe over everything and just what lands. But, when you're trying to do fades between black and red, like when you're trying to do a fade like from here into a more solid black, you have to dry brush actually really carefully so that the proportions of the color and the fade is done right. You don't want it to look too black, you don't want it to look too red. And so, yeah, this took a lot of time. Took a lot of time. But once again, the final result is so worth it. And this is, you can really see those black pock marks in there, sort of the deeper sections against the highlights. So let's talk about, I guess, sort of the other stuff. Obviously, he has a bunch of blades, but you guys should be mostly familiar with that. So let's jump to the heads now. So the first head I have is his Yamaguchi Carnage head. The Yamaguchi Carnage head, if you're not familiar with the engineering, comes in two parts, and the camera's having a really hard time focusing because I keep moving. So it comes with a floating lower jaw section, which has obviously been all repainted, same steps. And something I wanted to do with the mouth is have orange and pink in there. So as you can see, the tongue, is pink, but then there's orange on the sides of the mouth. And also, if you look at the top of this guy, I did do orange at the top of the mouth. And the reason why I did that is I like Ultimate Carnage, where he has that orange glow coming out of his mouth. But at the same time, I didn't want to compromise sort of the more classic pink look, you know, the pink in the mouth. And so I decided to mix them. So now he has this orange glow up against that more vibrant pink tongue. So that was super sick. So that's our first head. Also, if you're unfamiliar with Amazing Yamaguchi, he has interchangeable eye plates. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick because this guy will be for sale. And so I just want everyone, you know, anyone who is interested in buying this guy to really understand all that he comes with. So there's this little poker tool here. It's just a little stick with a little tab at the end. But the tab, you push it into these two slots up at the top here. And so I push it in. And what that does is you can see it pushes that tab out on the eye. And so then you just kind of pull the eye out. You just kind of jimmy it out from there. Sometimes the tool, yep, you just pop them out. And so now you have these two ports. And so what I can do now is I can grab another one, wrong side, I can grab another one of the eyes, match it up, and just plug it in. Just like so. And so as you can see, you can get different eye configurations. And now he's doing a little crazy face if you want. So I think that's a super cool feature that Amazing Yamaguchi gave us. I like it. I like that they made Carnage more expressive. I think Venom had a similar feature. So yeah, he has 6 total pairs of eyes that are, or eye plates that are all interchangeable. So I dig heavily. I dig heavily with this. Really, really like it. And so I'm going to change out the eyes one more time so that the pairs match. I'm going to grab this eye right here. And so now, instead of the more thin kind of angry aggressive eyes we had before, we have some of those like bigger white eyes. So that's pretty sick. So putting his symbiote head off to the side, I also have his Cletus Cassidy head here. This head was made by Mayshelf. This was a 2019, I think, exclusive by Mayshelf for Designer Con. And I bought 2 of these, and I originally intended to use them on a very old version of Carnage I made. And then that version of Carnage I just never ended up selling, and so I had 2 of these spare heads with me. And so since I had 2, one was originally supposed to be a repaint that I sold, and then the other one was supposed to be with the Carnage figure I made. And just I didn't end up going through with either for whatever reason. So I ended up coming back to it now, you know, about like 2-3 years later, roughly. And with new skills, much improved, I repainted the head. I painted the hair in an Angelus leather brown, and then came through with a sort of translucent orange. And so I dry brushed over it with this orange tint, and so now you get these highlights of orange in the hair, as you can see there, while still keeping more of a brown undertone. I didn't want the orange to be too vivid. I didn't want it to break from who the character is, but just sort of to add a little bit of punchiness to the hair color. And so there's that nice sort of orange top layer on there. Coming to the face, obviously this is just an incredible sculpt by Mayshelf. But what I did for the eyes was I painted the eyes white, and then I put some jade green and some black in there. So he's got this very, very sparkly eye. And then what I did was I thinned out some red and some pink, and I did these veins all around the eyes. I wanted to do sort of, you know, it looks like the symbiote is coming out a little bit. Originally I was thinking about sculpting, you know, a transformation face, but then I realized, one, the Yamaguchi Carnage is very, very stylized, so it would be hard to mimic. And then 2, you know, if I'm doing prototype inspired, he should have a completely unmasked face. And so I ended up opting with the unmasked so that it would make more sense, you know, for the total design. But yeah, did those veins in there. And so after I painted the red, I dry brushed a little bit more skin over it, just so that skin tone over it, so we get a nice fade in there. You know, skin tone is skin tone. You just gotta mix your colors very well. I will say the lighting is making it hard to see, but this vein is actually painted with a little bit of a pink in there too. So that's pretty tight. Yeah, bring it back. It's funny, you can actually see the red in the vein better from far away. I don't know why my camera's acting like that. Oh well, but yeah, a very, very cool head sculpt, and it looks gnarly on him. Lastly, what I want to talk about is actually transforming the figure and giving him new arms. And so the figure currently has the standard Amazing Yamaguchi arms on him, but what I realize is that all of Amazing Yamaguchi's parts are standardized. So all the different pegs, they work in like 3 different variants. There's like middle thickness, large thick, or there's like small thickness, middle thickness, large thickness. And they're used for different parts of the engineering. And so they use a large thickness joint inside the elbow. And when I realized that, I went, oh shoot, I can interchange the arms with the legs. And you'd go, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to interchange arms with legs? And the reason being is Carnage is a shapeshifter, you know, because of the symbiote. The symbiote, you know, is moving and melding into larger weapons. And so I wanted him to be able to muscle up his arm in order to hold some of those bigger weapons, or to make some of the bigger weapons look like they make sense in the full context of the body. So, obviously, these pegs work, so that's awesome. But what I had to do was switch out the way the ankle was. So all the joints, you know, they're connected by a peg and they're sort of indented. So the way the ankle used to be was there was an indent in there. But what I chose to do is I cut off the back of the heel of the foot, because the back of the heel, like the back of the heel of the Carnage foot, has a peg hole in there. And that standardized peg hole in the back of the foot, as you can see right there, is the standardized peg hole for all of the hands, because you're supposed to be able to plug accessories into the back of the heel to do tendril stuff and things like that. So upon realizing that, I cut off the back of the heel, shaved it down, shaved the ankle hole down too, or ankle cavity down, plugged the heel in, and then sculpted around it and smoothed it out. And so now what he has is the ability to, we can pop out either of his arms, his right or his left, plug in the new bigger arm. And as you can see, it's significantly larger in size, in scale, much more beefy. And then, you know, it makes sense for me to grab one of like his big arm blades and plug it in. Sorry, the Carnage's foot hit the camera. And now suddenly, you know, the big blade fits a little better. And so I also like how the thighs have a very sort of twisting motion to them. The symbiote really wraps and rotates around the arm, and so it does give a really, really cool illusion or look of motion in there. And so you can pose him up really, really cool with the arm blades. So there's so all the accessories can be plugged into these ports, and it just gives you a different option of styling. So you can have him with the thin arms, you can have him with the thick arms. So that's something I wanted to include because, one, it looks awesome, and two, I wanted to use as much of the Amazing Yamaguchi figure as possible. This quite literally is all that is left. Just this middle torso and like legs. The head has been used, all the arms have been used, all the accessories have been used, the legs have been used, the feet have been chopped up in order to make new pegs for the accessories. So I wanted to transform as much as I could for this figure. So that's most of the accessories. I'm not going to go over every single one. We have an assortment of hands up there, but that is most of what you need to know. The only other thing I need to cover in terms of accessories is he does come with one other tool, and it's like this little plier-esque looking thing. And so what you're supposed to do with this is there's a bunch of these little tiny joints on all the accessories, and they move back and forth. He does come with a pair of extra ones normally, but that pair of extra ones I have already tabbed into some of his extra blades so that all the blades have their own pegs. You don't have to worry about taking those in and out. But if for any reason you want to use some of the pegs and remove them, all you have to do is take this little set of pliers, kind of wiggle it under the ball of the joint, and then you just kind of, use physics to, just jimmy it out, and then just pop it out, and now you have the joint back. And so now if there's any other places you want to switch it out, because he does have a lot of extra ports on him, you have access to all those tiny joints in order to mix and match as you please. So he does have a lot of options, and so that's what this little tool is for. So let us take all of these accessories. I'm going to put them all back in my little storage bin for him. And let's talk about the actually transforming the body, because I mean the paint took a long time, but paint is paint, it takes time, it takes focus, but I wouldn't say it takes a lot of thinking in terms of like, I'm not really problem solving with the paint. I go, this is the color I want it to be, I want it to have these certain highlights, I want it to be glossy, I want to do whatever, and then it's just a matter of taking the time to actually implement all of that. On the flip side, there's a lot of engineering that goes into the body. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, put the head off to the side. First thing I want to talk about is the arms. So the arms are frozen at the shoulder. He gets his full 360 all the way around. I'm not going to do it 360 all the way around because I have sculpted these spikes onto the top of the arm to pay homage to Prototype, because Prototype, he has a bunch of little jagged spikes and stuff on his arms, and so I sculpted some up at the top there, as you can see. They don't limit the articulation at all, and I made sure to measure that out so that he can lift his arms all the way to a full, or almost 90, roughly 90, I should say, without any issues. But the arms are frozen, so you don't get a shoulder swivel of any kind. And the reason for that is just the engineering of this guy internally. It was, I tried to do it with magnets. I tried a bunch of different options. I tried to create new shoulder pegs, and they just didn't work. And so, thankfully, everything else is on like these ball and ratchet joints. And so you get a ton of rotation from the arm. You can bring this all the way around. The forearm itself is on a ball peg. So you can get a ton of different angles with this guy, and that should be more than enough to make up for the fact that there is no shoulder swivel, but you do still get the in and out, you get the forward back. So, that is something that is unfortunate. I was hoping to preserve all the articulation, but it is honestly just the cost of the conversion, and I'll explain why. So, this is a Mezco Gomez body. It is the same body of the Black Skull figures, which is the same body as this guy. The shoulder joint for Mezco extends very, very far down because the way the bicep comes over and sits over the actual shoulder piece, pretty classic articulation. The issue is that the way the Yamaguchi joint is structured, because everything is on ball pegs, there is no need for this deep groove. And so the shoulder comes all the way up and has just a very, just a thin little ball, or not even a ball peg, just a thin little tab, really, to plug in the joints into, because all of these are like these little circle pegs. So it just has a circle peg that you're supposed to plug the shoulder into one of the bigger joints, which then ports into here for the shoulders. So because everything's on these, just sort of friction ports, it was very difficult to mimic that, one. And two, I had to shave the joint a ton. This is the prototype that I did. So this is the normal Mezco joint, and this is the prototype joint I carved on this spare torso because I was trying to get my measurements right. And you'll realize that you have to cut off like 90% of the shoulder. And it's just not to create this nub here. I had to shave down all up here as well. You can see that I had to Dremel out a lot on top as well, just a lot all the way around in order to be able to fit it even remotely properly. And so yeah, by the time I was working on trying to like make it a peg match fit, I installed magnets inside and magnets into the arm to try to get them to hold. But when you start stacking accessories on the arms, it just doesn't fit anymore, and the arm falls off. On top of that, you have this, you have all this fabric up here, and so the fabric naturally creates tension and wants to push back on the articulation. And so because of that, if you moved his arms too high, the magnets just wouldn't be able to push up against the fabric anymore. And so finally, I just had to go, look, I need to freeze those shoulders in place so that everything else works and everything else looks good. So that is unfortunately just the price I had to pay there. Talking about some of the other engineering, you might be looking up at the neck and going, holy cow, there is not a normal standard Mezco ball peg, but there is a tab, or, just a peg coming up from the top. It's not the normal ones. You go, why is that? Well, it's because the Carnage head, like I said before, the lower jaw floats, and then the head has, the port there. And so the head plugs into the port up top. And that's how you're able to get that jaw articulation for Carnage. It's not that the lower jaw really moves, it's that the top of the head is on a ratchet joint on the peg or on the port there. And so he is able to get a crazy range. I mean, he's able to open his mouth up all the way, which is super, super cool for posing. I really like it. Obviously, you get a little bit of a gap in there, but, if you're posing him right, if he's like crouched over and screaming at you, you're not going to see that hole in the middle of his mouth. But, so, I wanted to keep the Carnage head, and the Carnage head, unfortunately, is engineered in such a way that you have to use the peg with it. Otherwise, you freeze the jaw in place. And I didn't want to do that. Carnage is a very dynamic character, and so I really did value having his ability to, do that, sort of articulated jaw, mimic that articulated jaw. Also, if I froze it, I wouldn't be able to switch out the eyes, so I would also lose some just customizability, some really cool features with him. So I said that's not going to fly. What I learned as I was deconstructing the Mezco Black Skull figure is that this port here happens to be the same size as the neck peg. So this joint, it's a double ball, and I don't think I have any good examples of it. There's some spare pegs. Let me go grab those spare pegs. Let me pause the video. So this is the way the spare pegs are right here. So they're both on sort of this ratchet ball joint. So they just move back and forth. But what I found was that, the ball portion of this is the same size as, or relatively the same size as the Mezco ball pegs, or the double ball peg that they normally use for their necks. So what I ended up doing is just cutting off the long tab right here so that it was just this left. And so the ball plugged into the bottom of the neck, and I still had the port for the upper part of the Carnage head. So, I'm going to move the body to the side because it keeps on dragging the focus. So equivalently, this ball peg is plugged into the neck, and then you just drop the Carnage mouth or the lower jaw, and then you just plug in this, over it. And so then it just sits there. And that's how it works. And so that bottom part is just ported in to the Black Skull neck, which is super, super cool. I'm going to have a problem pulling this out. There we go. So that's how that is engineered. So that's how that works right there. So then, for this head that is designed for more Marvel Legends figures, I sized, and I don't know if the camera's going to be able to pick it up, because, there you go, you can see it. I have to angle it in such a way. I measured and drilled a new port into the ball peg of the neck so that you can now plug the head in. So that's how I got around having two different styles of neck pegs. So yeah, now they are interchangeable. You can have his unmasked head, and you can also have his, Amazing Yamaguchi engineered head, and both work. And yeah, Carnage still keeps his articulation. He can tilt to the side, tilt to either side. He can look up. He gets like one joint tick looking down. The looking up is mostly just a lean up, so you might have to move his body a little bit more. But he still gets pretty dynamic, despite, you know, the change in articulation. And all that was measured, so it has a very, very nice grip and hold to it. So let's come back to the arms now. The Amazing Yamaguchi Carnage has a lot of ports on the body. There's some ports on the chest. There's a bunch of ports on the back. There's like 1, 2. He gets some on the legs. He gets 3, 4 here. So he has a ton of ports that you're able to plug tendrils into. His arms standard, he gets one in the shoulder, one in the elbow. And I saw that and I was like, that is not enough. You know, I'm using these arms and I don't want to sacrifice, you know, all the craziness he's able to do with the tendrils because I'm scrapping, you know, the main part of the body. So what I chose to do was I measured out the peg holes and I drilled some new ones. I drilled some into the back of the triceps on either side. So now, let me pull some tendrils out. You can plug one into the shoulder, and I'll show a comparison. You can plug one into the shoulder. I'm gonna, let's see, where's my medium tendrils? I don't want to use the long ones because of the camera. You can plug some into the back of the triceps, and then you can also plug one into the elbow. The elbow one's tough just because of the ball joint. You kind of have to like hold it out on your own and then just jimmy that one in. There we go. And plug one into the elbow. So looking at it from the front, you get some really, really nice, chaotic, you know, symbiote tendrils coming out there. So that's what 3 can look like. You know, obviously this is a pretty bland configuration. He's not posed, but you have 3. In comparison, what would it look like if we only did 2? I plug one into the shoulder, you know, mirroring the first one. I plug one into the shoulder. Then we grab another medium tendril. Let me plug it into the left arm in the elbow. 1, 2. Look at how much of a difference that middle one makes. That middle one fills in the gap right there. It makes it so much more, it makes it feel so much more full. It adds, you know, it's crazy how much you'd think one tendril adds. And so that's why it was super important to me. And so I added another tendril port just for this guy so that I'd be able to do more with him, or you'd be able to do more with him, I should say. So he does have an extra port on either side that you are now able to utilize that didn't exist before, which is super, super cool. So with that, the last thing we have to talk about is the outfit. And I know this video is long, and I'm sorry for that, but there is so much to cover on this guy. I put a lot of effort into him. And so Black Skull, as mentioned before, I took a Red Hood, or not Red Hood, Arsenal, Red Arrow, jacket hoodie, and I put it over the normal body. And then I took a Netflix Punisher coat and I put it over that. And so that's how you're getting that sort of Alex Mercer trench coat hoodie look. And that was important for me. I wanted to mimic that. So let's just put on his unmasked head. And so as you can see, we're getting that very, very prototype look. But I didn't just want to transplant some clothes and that be the end of the day. So around the arms, I have dappled in. Wow, man, the gloss makes it so hard on this camera. It's so much more vibrant in real life, and the camera is making it look like a dull brown here. But I dapple and sponged in. Oh, that angle's looking a little bit better. I dappled and sponged in red onto the coat. And so you get, that side's coming out a little bit better. Dappled and sponged in some red onto the coat. And so you get a fade from the symbiote arms into the leather of the coat itself. And on camera, it looks almost flawless. You see that? It's like very tough to tell where the leather starts and the arms begin, which is the whole point. And then on top of that, what I did was I took puffy paint, and if I come in a little bit closer, you'll see that I did actually a tendril pattern over the coat on either side. You can see some of this black oozing across the red right around here, and it extends up onto the coat. And, you know, it fades into the leather black, so it gets a little bit harder to see. But I did that along the back so that you feel like the veins are coming off the coat and onto the figure itself. And so here we go. You can see it again on this side. It's coming off the coat, and I tried to line it up, you know, so that it looks like it's merging onto the veins with the arm. I wanted to do that on the shirt itself as well, because Carnage is known for those, you know, those giant black veins all across the middle of his chest. And so even though his undershirt is black, you know, having that black puffy paint and painting that, it does get a semi-gloss varnish onto it just naturally because of the texture of the paint. And so I did that on the shirt itself, and so you're getting a little bit more of that symbiote pattern, you know, so it doesn't look like it's just cloth. You know, he's not just wearing a shirt, but there is some movement under there, and so you get to see that in him. And then I also talked about how I liked the black and red dappling, and so I did that on the coat as well, and you can see that coming through. I painted, you know, I didn't want it all just to be a bright red. Obviously, it looks good for the hood, but for the inside, you know, what's kind of underneath everything, there is that moving black and red symbiote with that red sponging underneath. And so, you know, even in this guy's costume, there is layers to it. I didn't want to sell anything short. I wanted everything to feel like it was symbiote, it was transforming. I added weathering also along the bottom edge of the coat here. As you can see, this is black, and then there's some brown. There's some brown dirt in there. Once again, the camera is just washing everything out because of how glossy this leather is. Everything's just kind of getting mixed up in the glare. But there are two tones of brown. There's a leather brown. There's an Angelus leather brown acrylic paint. And then I'm also doing sort of a lighter dirt brown over that as well. So there is some depth of color, and there's two-tone to it. And then I also did some speckling of dirt onto the boots as well. Just a tad. Once again, it's not showing up. Oh, here we go. I think on the back of the boot it'll show. Yeah, there you go. You can see it on the back of the boot. It's not all that gloss black on the heel, but there is some brown coming through there. So I really enjoyed making this guy. I wanted to make him look like he was running through the dirt. There we go. You can see a little bit more brown on the toe of that boot as well. Just a tad. Yeah, unfortunately, most of this guy's gloss. And so some of his details just get lost in it. But hopefully the pictures I'll be posting on Instagram pick that up a little bit better. But since you guys have been sitting here this whole time, we should put on some of his accessories. It would be a shame if we didn't do that. So I'm going to grab his open palm hand because I really like this open palm hand. The reason why I like the open palm hand, there we go, plug that in, is because he has a port in his hand. And so I like putting spikes in there. But let's design his arm first. I like medium tendrils on the shoulders there. Let's get a big long tendril on the tricep port in the back there. And then we'll do a mini one on the elbow. I like the mini ones on the elbows. It would be kind of weird if his elbow was big and heavy, at least in my mind. So there we go. We'll rotate this one down a little bit, push this one up, put that one up. Ooh, that's going out of frame. I guess I'll have to move it down. There we go. For the other side of the arm, let's switch it out with his big arm. Here's the right side. So I'm going to move that kneecap away. Also, this kneecap, it is on its own ball peg. So you can pull the knee out. I don't know if I'll be able to on camera. It takes a little bit of effort. Come on, work with me, please. I might have to use the tool for this. Yay, the tool's coming in handy. There we go. Pop the knee out, like so. As you can see, it's on a joint. Pop the knee out, and what's cool is, because it's just an accessory like everything else, I can plug blades into the back of the arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this blade into the back of the elbow, if it wants to work with me. Please work with me. That is a tight port. There we go. So I'm going to plug a blade into the back of the arm right there. And then I'm going to grab the same blade. Or let's do a different blade. Why not? Let's grab this one. Let's grab the spear looking one and plug that into the front. So now we're able to get this really big, gnarly arm blade right there. So he can do that. He'll be here like this. He'll have his open hand. Let's get some medium tendrils in here for both the shoulder and the tricep peg. There we go. Let's get all this sorted out nicely. Let's rotate this around a bit. There we go. That holds better. And then the cool part about the hand ones, like I was saying before, is I like to put his little straight spike right through the hand, because then it looks like he opens his hand and shoots a spike out and just like, I guess, stabs someone, which sounds so violent when I say it out loud. But I think it's a cool little thing he can do. So let's just, oof. The only issue is these tiny little joints can be very finicky. And all the peg holes, because it's all pegs, they're very tension based. And so it does take some effort. And unfortunately, that's just the way Yamaguchi designs their accessories. I wish there was a better way to do it, but I get it. But anyways, now let's get him posed up. Let's flare out his jacket a little bit. Flare out the jacket. Get some nice gnarly angles on there. And suddenly, you got this big Carnage guy. You got him in his sort of prototype. He's weaponizing. All his tendrils are out. Looking gorgeous. So yeah, this is the potential of this guy right here. And I'm sorry you had to wait till a 41-minute mark to see it. Maybe I'll put a note in the description going, if you want to see him all kitted out, go to the 41-minute mark. But look at this right there. So he has a ton of options. He's very, very dynamic. Look at that difference with the tricep pegs. Otherwise, he would only have one that you could put in his shoulder. The tricep pegs make a world of difference, which is crazy. So let's put on the Carnage head now, just to see what that should look like. Let's just port that up top there. Let's open his mouth up, get a nice roar out of him. We could even do it like he's screaming, and sort of he's looking up at the sky. Get that look in there. That's pretty tight. You can have him looking at the camera. You could have him running towards you. You know, there's a ton of different options. I will include a dynamic stand for this guy when he is sold, so you will be able to clamp around him and, you know, articulate him as you will. Get some cool jumping poses and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. This is just a little taste of, you know, all of his accessories, how you can pair everything up. I really, really enjoyed making this guy. Like I said, it was very time consuming, but I think, you know, looking at the final product like this, being able to do all this crazy customization, more customization, you know, for some of these accessories than what you had before, because now we can, you know, do these bigger, larger arms and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just proud. You know, I could sit here and gush about how cool this guy is, but I think you guys get the point. So with that, thank you for watching this review. If you are interested in buying this guy, you know, one, look at the upload date of this video. If you're watching this 2 years later, I'm sorry. There's a 90% chance he's gone. But yeah, for those watching it now, he is on sale. Please contact me on Instagram. My Instagram is tosh_customs. My username will be in the description of this video, and if you want a direct link, it is in the About section of my channel. Also on my Instagram page, you can just keep up with more of what I'm doing. Like I said at the beginning, there was a lot of people who were waiting for this guy. There's some hype around him, and that's because, you know, I post work in progress pics and stuff like that on my Instagram story. And so if you want to keep up with more of what I'm working on, that is the place to be. So once again, that is tosh_customs. So thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will catch you all later. Take care.